What if you could have amazing product photography with no studio, no team, and not even a camera? Sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to tell you how. I want to walk through a little bit of a use case for a niche that you've probably never even heard of, which is luxury wedding product photography. Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. My wife runs a business called Lettering by GRG, and it is a luxury boutique for wedding stationery, wedding invitations. And it's doing pretty well, has done for the last couple of years. But product photography is a huge part of that because you got to get on Pinterest, Instagram, and TikTok, and you are fighting a war on multiple fronts to get people's attention, to show them what you can do, competing with other providers and vendors, to try and capture your target market. Side note, if you're into, weddings, the creme de la creme of product photography there is going to be wedding style shoots. And what they are is effectively mini fake weddings that they put together. They hire a venue or they beg and borrow one. They hire models. They rent, wedding dresses and suits. They get makeup artists, photographers, and videographers involved as a kind of like a trade for pick situation or trade for time. They have food, they have cake, they have wedding stationery, they have jewelry, they have flowers and florists and all the rest. They mount the whole thing up and take photos and take videos and they distribute that to everybody that's part of it. And it's crazy. It's fantastic. And if you're looking, for a strategy to sell your products as a wedding vendor or whatever, it's second to none. You can't beat it. It's amazing. But there's two key issues with them. And the first is that they are stupidly expensive to participate in. They're normally for destination weddings. You have to travel there. You got to pay for accommodation. And if you can't do that, you have to ship all of your stuff across with like instructions. It's very time expensive. And the second thing is that they are a nightmare to collaborate on because trying to get everybody involved at the right time, vendors drop in and drop out, and you might travel over and then find out that the photographers dropped out and they're stuck. The planner might have like actual weddings that come up and they're dragged away. It's a whole complicated mess. So recently, my wife has developed a new set of guest bags for guests of, welcome bags for guests of like luxury destination weddings. And she was talking to me like, hey, should we talk to this particular planner about setting up a style shoot? And I was thinking about, this whole creative technologist thing I'm on at the moment. And I'm like, hold my beer. I've got this. So what she wanted to do was basically advertise a product she had. And it's actually a tote bag, and they have different venues on them. And this is one here of a Villa Store in Italy. Beautiful venue, by the way. But she does like a ton of different ones of these. And the idea was to make an image that was put it in context. So we talked about it and we were like, hey, why not have a bridesmaid hold it at a wedding reception? Wouldn't that be nice? Bridesmaids are guests as well at the wedding. They're important. And that gives it just a little bit of context, a little bit of putting it in its place. And we kind of decided then with the wedding venue, maybe we didn't want it to be like super obvious. It was happy to just have it like blurry in the background because wedding style can turn people off depending on what you're into. So we kind of had this bit of a concept and we got to work. So, first step, Dream Shaper. I know this model quite well. I know what terms it works with. Literally just iterating through prompts, getting the model to generate closer to what I had in mind. Moving on from that, then, what comes out of these kind of models based stable diffusion? Generally, are not very large. And in this case, it was like 1248 by 720. If you zoomed in, very blurry, no great details, didn't really like it. You got to upscale. So brought everything into LDS or upscaler, upscaled it by 2. And what that actually does is not only does it actually make it bigger, but it also fills in the details. It imagines different items within the image, right? To fill all that in. And you can see that image here. I really like this, but there's some things that kind of put me off. The first is like digital noise, so there's some areas where we're gonna have to filter that out. And the second is the color tone. It's actually changed. So instead of being that beautiful kind of pinky reddish color that what it was at the start, it's kind of gone into yellow tree, makes it a little bit sick, a little bit weird. So we're gonna have to fix that. And that's step 3. We bring that photo then into something like Serif Affinity or Photoshop. Clean up all that digital noise. We edit out the things we don't like that open zip on the back and some other stuff. And then from there, we can actually just change the colors, edit the curves, get it to the kind of tone what we want. that matches the Instagram feed it's going to be on and also kind of matches the website, the product pages that it's going to be sitting on. So everything kind of ties in together nicely. Then from there, we got to crop and we got to resize. Might seem like a really small, stupid step and not worth talking about, but I really want to highlight that when you post images to social media, that they use their own cropping algorithms, their own compression algorithms. And if your items are not in the right aspect ratio and the right size, your image is toast. It comes out as this noisy JPEG mess. So you really want to be on the right side of that. And then the final step. So we've got our image here. Really like that. What we want to do is actually put on that venue sketch that you had seen. And we're really lucky because my wife actually had like a vector AI file of this. So we're able to take that, bring it into Serif Affinity, and then just kind of like put it in place, liquefy, change the blend modes. And that actually looks pretty reasonable. I don't think this looks bad at all, you know? And certainly for advertising online, perfectly fine. So the next step then is, and it's a little bit of a gimmick, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, is actually making that image move, breathe a little bit of life into it. So what we do is from the image, we generate a depth map. From there, we actually create a 3D kind of mesh. And then what we can do is bring that into something like Blender and just bring a little bit of movement into that 3D space. It's a very gentle effect, but it looks fantastic. And on social media, it catches eyeballs, absolutely. It also allows us to put it on reels and it's more interesting and all the rest. So that's it, end to end. Here's a finished image. That's kind of cool. You might say, man, that is an awful lot of effort and talking for what is just one image. And maybe you're right, okay? But we have seen huge sales on the back of this image. Never mind the other ones in the set, right? But just on this image, we have seen huge sales. That's actually performed extremely well. So in my mind, it's worth it. And then there's the other aspect of this where we talked about the issues with wedding style shoots at the start. You know, we didn't have to travel. So that's sustainable, more sustainable because there's no like carbon emissions from flying and all the rest. This is actually all generated on my local laptop. So it's not even as if we were using server farms or like anything like that. It happened here in this room on this machine. Easy peasy. Separate it at its cost. Style shoots are typically very expensive to put together. The cost of this was nothing. Like it was done here. The turnaround time, super quick. Instead of the weeks it takes to organize a style shoot and collaborate, and then the weeks afterwards to get that photo back from the photographer, idea to execution was less than an hour here. And being able to turn it around that quickly means we can react to the market an awful lot faster. And then just the satisfaction of putting these things together ourselves is pretty cool. Does that mean traditional product photography goes out the window? Absolutely not. Does that mean that wedding style shoots are dead? Absolutely not. All of these things absolutely have a place. And it's I would just view this AI product photography as just a new tool in our tool belt, something else to try, an alternative, that we can bust out when it's time to use it, when it's the right time. We will, of course, always collaborate with other vendors. That's super fun in itself, but it's nice just to be able to take things in our own hands every now and then, depending on what we're doing. What do you think? Little jaunt into AI product photography? You might like it, you might not. I would love to hear your opinion. Let me know.